With just 2 weeks left until Election Day, the political landscape is rapidly shifting, and the momentum seems to be decisively moving away from Donald Trump. It wasn't long ago that Trump seemed to have a slight edge in battleground states like Pennsylvania. However, the tides have turned, and a combination of recent polling data, health concerns, and strategic blunders are making Trump's path to victory increasingly difficult. On the other hand, Vice President Kamala Harris is capitalizing on key issues, mobilizing young voters, and building coalitions that could very well secure her victory. In this video, we will break down why the Trump campaign is faltering, what the latest polls are saying, and how Kamala Harris is poised to pull off a major upset. We will also take a closer look at Trump's bizarre public behavior, the growing calls for transparency on his health, and how he's trying to hold on to his base through an appeal to young, disillusioned voters, a strategy that may be too little, too late. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to reaching 5,000 subscribers, but we can't do it without you. So, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe right now. And if you're already subscribed, give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment to let me know your thoughts. Alright, let's dive right into it. Health concerns and Trump's mental state. A growing chorus of critics and even medical professionals are sounding the alarm over Donald Trump's mental and physical health. Hundreds of doctors have recently demanded the release of Trump's health records, particularly as his behavior at rallies becomes increasingly erratic. Trump, however, has refused to take a cognitive or physical exam, while still claiming, quite audaciously, that he is healthier and sharper than both VP Kamala Harris and former President Barack Obama. Such claims are laughable to anyone paying attention, and Trump's refusal to release basic health information only adds fuel to the fire. His refusal also raises questions about what he might be hiding. Trump's delusion appears to have no bounds, and with just 2 weeks to go, it's hard not to wonder whether his increasingly bizarre behavior will alienate even his most ardent supporters. Young voters are abandoning Trump. Perhaps the most damaging news for Trump comes from the youth vote. Recent high-quality polling indicates that young voters are turning to Kamala Harris in droves, which is a devastating blow for the Trump campaign. A new CNBC poll finds that Harris leads Trump by an astonishing 20 points among voters aged 18 to 34. In a previous poll from July, Harris only held a 6-point lead with this demographic, which means the gap has widened dramatically in just a few months. Young people are motivated by issues that Trump has failed to address adequately, if at all. From job opportunities and healthcare to climate change and trust in government, these are the issues driving younger voters to the polls. Trump's attempts to appeal to younger men by appearing on podcasts like Logan Paul's or cozying up to wrestling legends like The Undertaker have fallen flat. It's clear that TikTok, social media, and grassroots movements are far more influential in shaping the political views of younger Americans than Trump's desperate attempts to appear relevant in pop culture. VP Harris's abortion strategy. Key to swinging the election? While Trump is flailing, Kamala Harris is laser-focused on building a broad coalition, particularly among women. Abortion rights have become a central issue in this election cycle, and Harris is banking on it to rally female voters across the country. The vice president is visiting Houston, Texas, where she will highlight the stark differences between her stance on reproductive rights and Trump's hardline anti-abortion position. In 2021, Texas implemented one of the nation's strictest abortion bans, prohibiting the procedure after 6 weeks of pregnancy. This has led to a spike in infant mortality rates and created a healthcare crisis for women in the state. Harris's message in Houston will focus on the dangers of a second Trump presidency and how his administration's policies directly harm women's health and freedoms. Republican figures like Liz Cheney, although divisive within the party, are providing a permission structure for conservative women to vote for Harris. Cheney's role in the campaign, while controversial to some, is a strategic move. Harris's campaign is attempting to form the broadest coalition possible, and Cheney's endorsement gives conservative women who may not agree with Harris on all issues a pathway to support her over Trump. The power of celebrities. Eminem and Obama hit the campaign trail. Adding to her momentum, VP Harris has gained support from some major cultural icons. Eminem, the legendary rapper, is set to introduce former President Obama at a rally in Detroit, Michigan. The rally will be a high-energy event aimed at mobilizing younger voters in a critical swing state. Eminem, a native of Detroit, has long been vocal about his opposition to Trump, and his involvement adds significant star power to Harris's campaign. At a time when voter turnout is crucial, having figures like Obama and Eminem on the campaign trail can energize voters who might otherwise stay home. Their influence, particularly among young people and urban communities, is invaluable to Harris's chances of winning in states like Michigan, where every vote will count. The polls, a growing lead for Harris. Recent polling data paints a grim picture for Trump. Harris is now leading Trump by 4 points nationally, 50% to Trump's 46%, according to a Morning Consult poll. While Trump has managed to close the gap slightly in some polls, Harris still holds a solid lead in most key swing states. A Reuters Ipsos poll has Harris ahead by 3 points, while a USA Today/Suffolk University poll has her up by 1. Perhaps most telling is the fact that Harris is polling just as well as President Biden did with young voters in 2020, winning their support by a 20-point margin. Given that young voters have historically been a difficult demographic for Trump to capture, this spells trouble for his campaign. Even more concerning for Trump is the fact that Harris is leading in battleground states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, states he narrowly won in 2016 but lost in 2020. Trump's strategy: appealing to low-propensity voters. In a desperate attempt to expand his base, Trump has been targeting so-called low-propensity voters, particularly young men and Latino males. He has appeared on a number of male-dominated podcasts and platforms in hopes of energizing a segment of voters who don't typically turn out on Election Day. However, while Trump may be succeeding in courting a niche audience, it is unlikely that this will make up for the broader coalition that Harris is building. Harris, meanwhile, has doubled down on targeting women voters. She recently appeared on the popular Call Her Daddy podcast, which has a predominantly female audience. By focusing on issues like abortion rights, healthcare, and economic equality, Harris is making a strong appeal to women, particularly in swing states like Texas and Michigan. A closer look at the polls: Harris's path to victory. Despite Trump's efforts, polling continues to show Harris leading in most swing states. In Nevada and North Carolina, the two are tied at 48%. In Arizona, Trump has a narrow 3-point lead, but Harris is ahead in the majority of battleground states. The polls indicate that Harris is outperforming expectations, and if the trend continues, she could build on the coalition that President Biden used to win in 2020. One key factor in this election is that the polling seems to be accounting for Trump's base more accurately than in previous cycles. In past elections, Trump often outperformed his polling numbers, leading to surprise victories in states like Michigan and Wisconsin. However, this time around, the polls appear to have adjusted, with Trump polling at 44 to 45% in most surveys, right where he ended up in the popular vote in 2020. Trump's racism under fire: the Breakfast Club controversy. In the midst of all this, Trump's racism is once again being scrutinized. During an interview on The Breakfast Club, a popular radio show hosted by DJ Envy and Charlamagne the God, Lara Trump, Trump's daughter-in-law, was confronted about Trump's racist history. The hosts brought up Trump's infamous housing discrimination lawsuit in 1973, his public attacks on the Central Park Five, and his role in spreading the birther conspiracy against President Obama. Lara Trump's attempt to defend her father-in-law fell flat, with Charlamagne the God pointing out that people act like there's no such thing as Google. Trump's long history of racist behavior is well documented, and attempts to whitewash it simply don't hold up under scrutiny. This exchange only underscores the challenges Trump faces in appealing to minority voters, a demographic that Kamala Harris, the first woman of color to be on a major party's presidential ticket, is successfully rallying. With just 14 days to go until the election, the signs are pointing toward a major victory for Kamala Harris. Trump is facing mounting health concerns, dwindling support among young voters, and increasingly negative polling data. Meanwhile, Harris is building a broad coalition of women, young people, and minority voters, a winning formula that could carry her to victory. As Trump continues to melt down on stage and his campaign grows more erratic, the American public is left with a clear choice. Do they want a president who refuses to release his health records, stokes racial tensions, and cozies up to conspiracy theorists? Or do they want a leader who is focused on protecting reproductive rights, addressing climate change, and safeguarding democratic institutions? The answer may become clear on Election Day.